out of this. So thank you so much for joining us to talk about customer avatar today. But the first thing I want to talk to you all about is muscle memory. Can anybody define muscle memory for me as they see it? Teacher's pet? Yes. Yes, miss.
So for me, muscle memory is something that you do automatically. It's something that you don't have to think about. It's something that you've done for a really long time. And so it just comes naturally.
That sounds about right to me. Anybody want to add to that in terms of muscle memory?
And something when you don't do it for a while, you can come back to it just supernaturally.
Absolutely. The Oxford Dictionary says the ability to reproduce a particular movement without conscious thought, acquired as a result of frequent repetition of that movement. Now I got to ask another question. Has anybody ever planned to start a workout routine on Monday? Right? I'm a planner to do it on Monday, right? And then Monday comes around and the bed is so warm and cozy. And do I get out of bed on Monday morning to go to the gym? No. And then the next Monday morning, I say, you know, I'm gonna go to the gym. Yesterday, I even laid my workout clothes out, you know, and then that next morning comes and the email comes in and the text comes in and there's a fire, right? And do I go to the gym? No, right? And then the next week comes and I say, hey, I'm going to call my accountability partner and you know, I slept in my gym clothes, you know, and then I wake up in the morning and my text to Holly says, did you really want to go to the gym today? Because I could get out of bed for breakfast, but do I go to the gym that day? No, right? So this is a piece I want you guys to understand about muscle memory before I teach you anything. Because just like going to the gym, how many of you had said, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to lead generate and don't do it? I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to work in my database. And then we don't do it, right? So the struggle becomes that you have a natural muscle memory of not showing up for yourself. And then we come to these classes and I goo all my energy on you guys and you feel so good and you say, oh, all that stuff she taught me, my mind is blown now. Tomorrow I'm going to show up. I'm going to learn about my customer avatar, whatever the heck I'm talking about that day. And then tomorrow comes and the email comes in and the text message comes in and all of a sudden we realize we haven't shown up for ourselves. We haven't shown up for our business in a way that creates a muscle memory. So I'm encouraging you guys to give yourself grace. I promise I won't say anything that's too good. So if you want to write it down, write it down. It is great to have a pen and pencil for this one. So in a minute, you'll want to write stuff down, but all of this will be on the internet. You can find it later. So this is that piece. I ask you to give yourself grace because it's going to take twice as much energy, right? Twice as much energy to show up and do something that your body has a muscle memory of not doing. So as I talk through today, my goal is to help you live a more authentic life through your business, right? Because have you guys ever worked with a client that they're not here, don't worry. Have you ever worked with a client you didn't enjoy working with, right? And maybe you found yourself, Sarah in real life would tell this person, but I have to show up as an unauthentic person so that we can get this deal closed, right? And that taste in your mouth and that feeling in your tummy is a really hard way to live your life. Right? We've all said, oh gosh, I hope that they don't bring their dad on the showing again, right? I hate that guy. He makes my life so much easier. And when he shows up, I got to grab my suit jacket out of the back of my car and I got to show up as whoever I think he wants me to be so that we can get this job done. So for a lot of folks, not knowing who your customer avatar is is what leads you down this road of living this unauthentic life, because you've attracted all of these people who need you to be something else besides yourself. This is where you say, what's a customer avatar? Right? So I'm going to tell a little story about how I learned about a customer avatar. It was 2019, and I was picked to speak in a national empowerment conference. And as a part of that conference, you sat down with a storytelling branding artist. Long title, sexy term, but really the heart of it is a certification that helps people learn how to tell stories through what they do. Now, the cool thing about telling stories is that when you tell different stories, it attracts different people, right? If I was holding up a Goosebumps book, some of you would light up, some of you would go, I don't know what those are, right? If I was holding up a People magazine, some of you would light up and some of you would say, oh, we call that smut in my family, right? These different stories that we tell. So I sit down with this storytelling branding artist, and you think that you're there to talk about the speech that you're going to give, but much like the work that we all do, all of a sudden you're halfway through a therapy session before you realize they're doing something to you. They're changing something in you. So there I am spilling my guts. I was working in title at that time, and I was just like, my whole life is unauthentic. It's really hard for me to be in title. If any of you have been in title, you know that you have to be unbiased. Turns out I really decide who I like. I'm pretty good about not deciding who I don't like, but I definitely decide who I do like. And all I want to do is pour into them. And if you're in title, you just have to talk to attorneys a lot. If you decide that you have a favorite realtor or favorite lender. So it was really tricky for me. So I said to her, you know, this is really hard for me to work in this space. I'm editing all of my videos. I'm carrying 7 different colors of suit jackets hanging in the back of my car. She says, well, what you need to be doing is speaking straight to your customer avatar so that you pull more of those folks out of the woodwork for you. So definition of customer avatar, a representation of your ideal client, the type of person you want to purchase your products or services. Sure, well, that sounds easy enough. Where do I begin? She says, well, in a perfect world, 2 things would happen, right? We would work with all of these people who make us feel authentic, and they would refer their friends to us. And the example I always give, if you've ever gone to the fair and you hear somebody say, step right up, everybody, step right up. No one steps right up because they're talking to nobody. Awesome. Glad to join us. Yeah, have a seat. It's okay. So I'm yelling that, right? Everybody step right up. Some people are not even looking at me, right? But if I stand in the middle of a coffee shop right over the top of Holly and I speak straight to her, you'll find that every person in that room didn't even look at me when I told the entire building to step right up. But when I stand over the top of Holly and I'm saying a message that is only for her, you find that every person in that room wants to know what I'm saying, why I'm saying it, right? So 2 things are happening when we speak directly to our customer avatar. One, we get these people who come out of the woodwork. It's like a dog whistle for our message. And number 2, we have such an authentic message that it attracts more people to us, right? So absolutely, it feels authentic. It's attractive to people, especially because there's so few unauthentic messages out there. So I said to this lady, you know, sounds good enough. Where do I begin? This is where if you have a pen, you're welcome to use it. She says, who are you working with right now that you already love? Who, think about past clients that you worked with, write down their names if you think of anybody, somebody that stands out where you say, oh my gosh, when I see them pop up on my schedule in the morning, I am so excited. I am so thrilled. It's like the easiest day. I could dress up cute. I could wear my yoga pants. I could show up as me. And I'm so excited because I have back-to-back appointments with my person all day long, right? So she said, who are your people? I said, well, there's these 3 guys. And they work for a lending company. Now I have 5 older brothers. And so male energy is very dominant in my life. And I love that about them. I could show up, I could give them a hard time. I could have a drink with them. We could have coffee together. We could build our businesses together. I could push them around. And she said, so great. So, you know, dial that in a little bit tighter. Tell me about them. How old are they? right? Because I'm going to speak to a 20-year-old differently than I'm going to speak to a 40-year-old, right? How much money do they make? Well, they grew up in the hood or they grew up playing sports, but they make over 150,000 now. Okay, all right, painting that picture a little bit better. Where would they eat? Like, oh, gosh, and I could picture these three people standing there. And I say, well, they're not afraid of spending money on a good meal, especially a steak. They'd have prime rib at Rudy's, but also they'd probably eat at Burgerville. So I start to like paint this picture of these people. Where would they shop? Okay, where would they shop? They probably would be like, middle-aged corporate America vibe with like a white, always pressed collared shirt, but like a Patagonia vest. And maybe they're wearing jeans and like the belt doesn't match the shoes, but they don't care. It's posh, but it's not trying too hard. Great. Do they watch sports? Of course they watch sports. Do they have a local team? She's asking me all of these questions and I'm just having a great time. Name them, give them a name. Okay, we're going to call him Chris. So, okay, we've got Chris. He's 42 years old. He makes more than X amount of dollars. She said, now go home and only speak to Chris on your social media. I said, that's crazy. I would start every video like, you dumb idiot. Why'd you miss my class yesterday? And she goes, that's what you're going to do. So I just started showing up in that way. And I got to be uber myself, right? Because if you've seen any of my social media videos, I'm only speaking to one person. I give them a very hard time, right? I invite them to all of my stuff. I try to be inspirational. I try to speak into this person. And I started that in October of 2019. In January of 2020, I get a call from the leader of that team. And the leader of that team said, hey, we want to take you out to coffee. And at the end of that coffee, they offered me a job. And I'm over here like, what? I literally had worn workout clothes. It was my day off, but I still met them for coffee. I was excited to have them on my schedule, even though I wasn't working. I showed up as myself with no makeup, workout clothes on, was uber myself, and got one of the best job offers of my life. About 2 weeks later, after I started for them, I was like, okay, I voodooed you. I need to let you know I voodooed you by talking straight to you for the last few months. And they said, that's crazy. We remember right around November, we started sharing your videos with each other going, wait a minute, who's this chick? She's on our radar now. Like we thought she was a little more stuck up and posh than we thought. Turns out she's really relatable because she's showing up as herself all day long. This is how I am, right? Whether we've had coffee or we've had coffee or we've had coffee or we've had like, I get to be this person all day long because I started in that space in social media and I started speaking straight to these folks. Well, then the next position I get headhunted for, this goes on for a year and then I get to meet with the owner and we're on Zoom with the owner and midway through, somebody else is talking. And then he introduces himself and his name is Chris. And I'm like, wait a minute, man, can I get at my first HR complaint and ask, how old are you, man? He's like, 42. Oh, that's cool. Cool. Sweet. You seem like a pretty successful guy. Looks like life's gone pretty well for you. Yeah, but grew up real modest means, dad was a repairman, and I'm like, what are your thoughts on sports, bro? I gotta know, right? Yeah. So now I oftentimes meet with people and they say one of two things. Either they're sitting in front of me and they're Chris, and I give this little talk to them about customer avatar, and they're like, that's super weird. That's me. I mean, I'm 43, but right. Or they say, I've been listening to your videos. I've been seeing your messages and it's so cool. It makes me feel really good. It's like you're being yourself. And then you show up and sometimes people are like, I see you in videos, you got all this energy, you're all hyped up, your hair's all curled, and then I show up like this every day. And I make my jokes and I say probably too many cuss words. I'm trying to dial them back right now. Say too many cuss words. I get to be myself. I give people a hard time. I challenge them in those same ways that I do in my videos. And this beautiful thing in my life happened where now all these people who have been attracted to work with me or attracted to be inspired by me, and I get to just show up as myself every day. I get to show my kids the example of, man, it's uncomfortable, right? I have severe dyslexia, and that was a big deal for me. In fact, I'll openly say I don't read. If you send me a long text message, I hope I don't open it, because then I can say, hey, Siri, read my last text message from Janet. Janet's a long texter. Most of the time she gets back 2 emojis and like an audio message from me that says, I'm not going to read that, babe. Why don't you make me a video of you reading that to me? So that was a big hang up for me in the real estate industry. So I kept saying, how do I go deeper with my customer avatar? How do I live a more authentic life? So I said that day, I'm going to do a live. I'm going to tell everybody in this world that I have dyslexia. And then every time I send an email, I don't have to think, oh, did I spell your right? Why do I say you instead of your every single time in these emails? And I can read it 4 times, and then I can send it and I can read it 1 more and I'll find all the mistakes. So I make this video. I tell Chris, I tell my customer avatar, like, low key, bro, I'm not a reader. Don't send me books. Don't send me links to books. If you give me a book, I'm going to act really excited about it. And I'll read whatever message you wrote on the inside. And then I'm going to Google that book. And then I'm going to watch a video about somebody talking about that book. My reading will get better. I'm not giving up on reading, but I got to show up as myself. And then I would watch things happen on social media where I would post something and little Nancy had to be like, oh, did you mean to say you or your? Oh, I'm halfway to handicap parking and this is what you're coming at me with, Nancy? But then I'd watch all these people be like, she has dyslexia. Right? And it was like, ha, Chris is going to fight you about it, right? I got to show up in this way. So this is where you go in deeper, right? Sit there, figure out who your customer avatar is. Is it a woman, right? Is it a woman who's married? Is it a woman who's married to a guy who has all the power of the decision, but won't get on the phone, right? Is it a young person who's a first-time home buyer, right? But the mistake that I see made in our industry over and over again is when people say, anyone who wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate in Oregon should call me. Okay, first of all, none of us can afford to advertise to everyone, right? And what you'll find happen when people know you are the first-time home buyer queen, they'll start referring you their first-time home buyers because they know you work with first-time home buyers because you're talking to them all the time in your social media, straight to these first-time home buyers. If you work with intelligent, high-level investors, or that's what you tell me, I work with intelligent, high-end investors. That's super weird how much you talk about first-time home buyer programs then. Because your investors are going to go, she's cute, right? I might send her my nephew when he wants to buy his first property, but I'm not going to work with somebody who's talking to me about what I do if I don't have money for a down payment. I want to hear about people who are always talking about, 1031 exchanges and what that new tax law is or whatever, right? So when you dive deeper into your customer avatar, this is where you sit with that messaging. Then we start to abuse or use the algorithm in your favor. So when I would make my posts, I might say something like, hey, tired at the office, already thinking about my dinner, trying to decide if I should go to @Rudy's Steakhouse or just stop by @Burgerville and go home and eat there. Now, my customer avatar, 2 things. They may have already liked those businesses because I've really dialed them in tight. Or my customer avatar will be like, girl, it's Friday night. You got lace and ruffles. Go get your steak, right? Or I know you've been up for 24 hours. I know you went to bed at 1 o'clock last night because you had a neon party and then you were back on Zoom hardcore the next morning. You need to go to Burgerville for lunch. Get an extra burger and a double dip of the sauce and eat that for dinner also and go back to your bed. I know where your head's at, right? Then we start to know the struggles that they have because then you can answer their problems, right? If your customer avatar is the annoying dad who goes shopping with his child who's really making the decision on buying the house, now we can talk to him. Gosh, it must be really hard to work with all those real estate agents that don't know your value. You worked in construction for 10 years. You could tear that house apart and build it again. Doesn't it break your heart when all these realtors come in and ask you to that's not something that we have to talk about now. That's not something we're gonna have to negotiate. That's normal, right? Then you can get to know what their goals are. I'm a first-time home buyer that wants to be in my second property as an investment. And I got to figure out how I build the title on this one so that I can take advantage of the next one that's going to be an investment. Do I really need to have 6 months of that payment saved, or can I live in this house first, right? We're speaking straight to these people. We're solving their problems, and then they can show up educated to you. So I started saying, I'm tired of saying the same thing all the time. If you joined, none of you did, but if you had, if you had joined me on Wednesday morning, I brought 7 people into one room, 2 loan officers and 7 minus 2, 5 realtors, and we did a lead generation summit. I showed them how to use a Google form and text out. We assumed that every lead that they brought in out of their cell phone, $10,000 for real estate agents, $3,000 for lenders. By Thursday morning, I can see all their leads, so I can measure them myself. We had $506,000 in potential commission in all of their pipelines for the next 2 years after spending 2 hours lead generating. And I found that I used to bring these realtors in one by one and say, great, we're going to do this process. I've already made the Google form for you. It falls right into a Google sheet. All your leads are going to be beautiful on the screen in front of us. We're just going to text everyone in your phone. And these fools are like, oh, geez, my phone? I thought we were going to do this out of your phone. What? Oh, I can't text everybody. I got guys I used to date in here, right? And they would argue with me about trying to make them hundreds of thousands of dollars. So then I would get on social media and I'd teach it. And then I'd say, if you want to do this, go watch this video first and then call me back and schedule. But if you watch that video, it means you understand we're using your phone. You're texting everyone in it. And if you're not, you're deleting them because you don't need them in your life. Block them if you can't sell real estate to them, right? If you can't show up as your authentic self for these people, they shouldn't be in your phone anyway. And I got to make sure that when people showed up for me, they were already educated. You don't have to teach them. Do you have a pre-approval app? Oh, you have a website?
Yeah.
You don't have to teach them about how to apply. Let's say first-time homebuyers are your bread and butter. You don't have to teach them how to use the website because you've already put your entire loan in through a screen recording in your phone, and you've shown them how easy it is for you to apply. So they're like, they show up with their normal questions. They're not like, what documents are you going to need? They're like, I saw your video with the way you made that funny, and look at me. I'm gonna make you so proud, mom. Look at, you want my ID? I got my ID ready. I got tax return. What you want? I got watches. I got rings, right? They show up so proud because they're ready to hear you. So sit with that, find your person, start with who you love already. Start with who you feel most confident and most authentic to work with. Name them. Find out if they're about to have a baby, if they can never have a baby, or if they have too many babies. Because when we're making these videos about, hey, bring your kids. Matter of fact, we need your kids to kick the tires on this house, right? We need your kids to run upstairs, right? Don't be afraid of your kids falling in love with the home. I hope your kids fall in love with every one of them. I hope your kids fall in love with real estate as an investment. Bring your kids. Matter of fact, well, you two walk through the home. I'll teach them about real estate in the front yard, right? If somebody said that to me with me and my 6 kids, I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna go in that house and have a date. I'm gonna go in that house with my Starbucks and sit on somebody else's couch. Well, she gives my kids a real estate investment lesson from the back of my truck, right? Speaking to these people draws them out. So what kind of questions are coming up for all of you? I've given, a good 15 minutes, but I can go on for hours. I love nerding out on this stuff, but what's coming up?
So what is a customer avatar? Sorry. It's a blue person from a movie.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
It's the avatar of the person I'm speaking to. It's not me.
Exactly. The customer avatar is the person you want to you want to attract. It is a representation. Yes, right. Avatar, the movie. Absolutely. Right. You know, it's a representation of your ideal client, customer avatar, client avatar, client profile, customer profile, with lots of different names for this. But I do like avatar because then you think of those blue people and it's so specific, right? If we sold a house to a blue avatar, Chris, the blue avatar, right? We would be selling a very specific land, a very specific place, very specific problems, right? So that ideal representation of that client. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'm not exactly sure this is not super clear, but as a new loan officer and living in San Diego, I don't necessarily super connect with people that are, as far as convincing somebody to trust me, right, to be their mortgage lender as a 25-year-old. That's one challenge, right? So then you add San Diego home prices to that as well. I'm not gonna have a ton of first-time home buyers that are gonna be 25 realistically, unless their parents are buying them the house. So for me, I was listening to you and I'm thinking, okay, social media isn't already my forte, but the social media I do know is of a younger group style. I don't know, sometimes I see other people that are just learning social media and to me, I'm like, oh, I would never post that. But then my sense of humor may be a little bit too crude or too out there for people that can afford a home in San Diego. So, well, maybe, we don't know. I'm just thinking of my avatar of like, I would love to work with first-time home buyers because myself, I've never bought a house and I would love to help people in San Diego get there. But I'm not sure how possible that is.
I love it.
So
Yeah.
what would you recommend?
Yeah.
Where to start?
Yeah. So the question is kind of where to begin, right? Tell me your first name again. Van. And you shared your age already, so don't feel bad asking. Tell me how old you are.
25.
25. Perfect. So the best thing for you, Van, is that you're in the decade where you get to be wild and reckless. Because you could go hard in any drive. If you're not listening to Gary V, follow Gary V, right? This is the decade where you get to do whatever the heck you want. Because we all woke up at 30 with college debt and we weren't realtors, right? We weren't lenders, right? We went from random job to random job. We worked our way up to management of random job and maybe even regional manager of random job. And none of us do the things that maybe Randy, he said 20 years, but none of us do the things that we did at 29 and 30 anymore. But had we spent our 20s learning how to live uber authentic, this will resonate because they've got kids, right? If we had spent our 20s learning how to be uber authentic, we wouldn't spend our 40s trying to figure it out, right? But we went into our 20s going, don't they want me to wear a suit? I've never bought a house before. How am I supposed to give somebody a loan on their house, right? But what you'll find is when you dial in your customer avatar, maybe it's somebody that you think of right now as one of your friend's moms. And she is like, I could pick, I'm rich. Like, she's like, I could pick anybody I want to be my real estate agent. And Lil Van has a real adult job, right? And I love her, and she's sweet, and she's gorgeous, and her mom's pretty too. Actually, I was like, her mom's really smart, right? Like they love you, and she makes these jokes that make my husband crack up, and my kids are like taking style tips from her, right? And they pick you, and the messages you're saying are, I'm the easiest lender to work with because I'm either on Zoom with you or we can have a cup of coffee on your couch. And she's retired. So she's like, Van wants to come over and hang out with me at the house. And all I have to do is like give her all my investment opportunity. I forget you're in the lending space, right? Right. So that's my first advice, right? And then I have 3 pieces of advice. And then my second piece of advice is kind of for everybody here in this room. What I hear you saying is like a mindset block, right? We could all line you up. If you want, we will when we're done. And I'll tell you all the reasons people won't work with you. It's a really awful experience. I'll make you cry. If you're into that, if that's your thing, we can all line you up and I will say, oh my gosh, she has a fancy hand thing. No one's gonna work there, right? You made fun of your own fancy hand thing earlier. So, right. And we overthink that. They won't work with me because I say the F word a little too much. They won't work with me because I'm way too bubbly. Oh man, they hate coming in with that hot energy, right? And when I'm doing that, I'm like, hey, universe, give me one more of those dads that wants to talk her kid out of buying the house, right? But if I say, they love that I straighten my hair, right? They love that I knew that it's sweater weather already, right? They love that I live in San Diego, but my mom owns the joint, right? Right? Whatever it is, right? That gives us that moment to go, I've got to get out of alignment with the people who don't want to work with me. Because you're right. There are people who are going to go, oh, your face is way too fresh, right? Your skin is too good. She must be young. I don't want to work with her. Don't sit next to me, right? And when we go out there with that uber authentic message and we are just being ourselves and we're saying our stuff all the time and we show up, people will start to exclude themselves. And when they come in there with that spicy, oh, do you know how to spell you or your? This is your world, especially digitally. This is your world. Watch me block you. Watch me delete your comment. In my social media class, it's also on YouTube. I always tell people to go in and delete messages. And I always give them the script. If somebody says, did you delete my comment? Right? I go, oh, weird, social media. I know. But you know what? I delete probably 4 comments every single week because either they comment and now people are talking about something that has nothing to do with the direction I'm headed, or they're rude or they're spicy to each other. First thing, I'm going to delete your comment. And then I'm going to delete you if I feel like you're a presence in my world. And when I delete it, I'm deleting these comments all week long. I've yet to ever have somebody come to me and say, did you delete my comment? Right? And if they did, I would just be like, no, I'm not going to answer that message. Watch me block you. Now you can't even search for my name, right? So really just staying focused in that space of going in deeper on the people who you do want to work with, who you do feel like you can make your crude jokes with, because it is a deafening life. It is a disappointing life. And you'll think, oh, maybe real estate's not for me. No, dude, it's because you're attracting, you're saying anybody. When you say anybody, you're like, where them desperate people at who have bad credit scores? Where you at? Where you at? Let's make a plan. And in 3 years you can buy. And I probably won't be here to serve you because I'm on my way out, because in a year and a half, I'm going to say, this isn't the life for me. Right? Did that answer the question? Cool.
Is anybody on Zoom that needs a question?
Yeah. If you have any questions. Oh yeah, I got one hand up. Catherine.
Hi there.
Yeah.
So first of all, Sarah, your message really resonates with me because I'm a teacher, and when I was young, I thought I could teach anybody, and I did, kindergarten to high school, and I left teaching for a few years, and when I came back, I realized I had to teach K through 3.
Yeah.
And so very similar to what you're talking about, the authenticity. So I'm going to be a new real estate agent, and I kind of have an idea already of who I really want to resonate with, but I also don't want to exclude anybody. So how do you resonate with those people that I think would bring joy and excitement to my role, without excluding people that actually, I can flex. I know this about myself. I am a style flexer.
Yes.
So, and I've seen this in my career. Like I can become, like if someone's really organized, I can become very easygoing and spontaneous. And if someone is very loosey-goosey, and I can become very organized and direct. And it's just my experience. So you know, I don't want to exclude anybody, and I really see my role as an educator. And if I do my job well as an educator, I believe that I will be able to serve their needs.
I appreciate your question. Catherine, can I ask you a question? What is important to you about not excluding people?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Well, okay, I want to make them happy.
Mhm.
I'm a people pleaser. That's my little nerd that sits right here, and I have a lot of conversations with that nerd. But yeah, I don't really. I think that's what makes me uncomfortable. Is that oh, you know, that agent just blew me off. Can you believe she did that to me? I don't want that feedback. I want to be helpful, Hannah.
Yes. And when you get into the real estate industry, you may feel some days like everybody has a straw and they are all just like, that was a straw, you guys. It was a straw.
Yeah.
And you may feel that was a weird noise, the straw. You may feel that it's very draining to serve everybody. And I'm not saying decide who your customer avatar is and then say, hey, Chris, not Kyle and not Kevin. And if your name is David, that's my brother's name. That's rude. So Darren, don't look at me, right? What we're saying is when we speak to Chris, then other people start referring more Chris's into our lives. And I'm a people pleaser too. So when I ask that question, people ask that all the time, right? What about the people I'm excluding, right? They answer in one of two ways. They either say, I don't want to hurt their feelings, or they say, I still want their money, right? So this resonates for me, right? This people pleaser idea. But there are more Chris's in the world than I could ever take checks from. If every one of my avatars wrote me a check every single month, I could never find all of them, right? And when I start getting broader in who I want to give a straw to in my life, it can become very emotionally draining for you, and you will have less energy for Chris when he shows up, because you will have come from a meeting with Tyler's dad, and you will have come from a meeting with Kyle's mom, and you will have come from all these places energetically, and you will have less to serve the Chris in your life. And so we go back to the beginning with this. When I say, everybody step right up, nobody comes. So that's that tricky part. When we say, I want to serve everybody, honey, you're going to get to serve more people than you ever imagined. And when the random people that you don't like the vibe of show up, you've had enough people take this class with you that you can go, oh, this is not my customer avatar, but I did what Sarah's about to tell me to do. And I went and followed all these other realtors, and I started paying attention to the ones, or other lenders. And I started paying attention to the ones that had a really authentic message. And then I knew, hey, if this is a client that is of a certain age, wealthy woman, children are not available to them, I send that person to Holly. Because I want to work with school teachers who are busy, who are working all day, and I take them out at 3:30 when the bell goes and we show homes. And this retired swanky lady with a lot of color in her house is not my customer avatar. It's my friend Holly's. And I refer that business, and I make 25%. And they get the most extraordinary experience because this person speaks to that person all day long. And they come back and they say, oh my gosh, Catherine, oh, I did think that you were going to be the perfect real estate agent for me. It's definitely Holly. She's incredible. I love you, Catherine. You're going to be my favorite coffee girl. And you're going to be like, whew, that's one Linda I don't got to work with this year. Well, right?
So the power of referral. So that's what I'm hearing is that be purposeful.
Yes. And in the beginning, take all the business, and halfway through the transaction, you're going to send me a text message and you're going to say, Oh gosh, tell me who Linda goes to on her next deal, because I'm gonna close it strong with Linda, but when she starts referring me clients, I need to send them somewhere because I don't want to do this again with her friends. But that first year, you're going to try on different people for size, and you're going to say, Sarah, I have to take every paycheck I can get, but I promise you I will not stop speaking to my customer avatar, because then more of those folks are going to come out of the woodwork. Everybody has the opportunity to buy a home. Like, I want to think that you guys are heroes, but everybody has a chance to buy a home with the 7 other real estate agents they know, or the 7 other lenders that they know. And if you can just remain in front of the people who matter to you. My favorite example, if anybody remember Mervyn's.
Yes. Yes.
Open, right? Okay.
Yes.
So remember, we used to shop. You walk into Mervyn's and they say, can I help you with anything? And you say, no. And then you go on shopping, and you don't need them, right? They were just going to try to talk in your ear that whole time, and you're collecting your clothes. And then as soon as it's time to go into that dressing room, you're like, where's that girl at? Where's that girl that I shoot off and I told to get away from me back there in the shoe department? Where's she at? I need you now, right?
Because they had to unlock the dressing room.
Yes.
They had to unlock
Right?
it.
Exactly. And this thought that when I'm looking for that dressing room, I'm probably not looking for that girl. I'm looking for anybody, right? When I decide that I want to have a conversation at 10 o'clock at night about my next home loan, I'm like, who is the most recent? There was a girl at my church who said her boyfriend just got a license. I'll text her. And your niece, who already sells houses the last 20 years, is like, Auntie, you're not going to use me, right? But if that person had come up to you and they had said, are you shopping for yourself today or somebody else? Oh, I'm just looking. Oh, cool. Are you just looking for something to wear to work or to an event? Well, it's an event. Oh, cool. Or, is it a pretty fancy event? Are you nervous about going to the event? Oh, gross. We're gonna get vulnerable. I love this. Okay, yeah, I'm a little nervous, right? Now I've built this relationship. They've stayed in contact with me. I want them to get my commission because I've already added her on my Facebook page, and I have to send her a picture of me in this dress when I get there, right? But so often we say, if you're ready to buy, do you want to buy or sell a home? Do you know anyone who's interested in buying or selling a home? No, no, nope, I'm good. And then you go down the road a little ways and you go, oh gosh, they planted a seed in me, and maybe I am kind of curious about what that would take. And I'm going to call the first person that I see, or the most recent person that I've heard, or the park bench that I sat on. When if you had been speaking to them from a customer avatar space for a year or 6 months, you'd be top of mind for them, and you'd be speaking their message. Did that answer your question, Catherine?
Yes, it does. How much time do you spend a day on social media?
So there's a couple of ways. So I, this is such a personal question.
Well, okay, related to real estate.
So no, I'll answer honestly. I only use social media for business. So I don't scroll unless, in Facebook, what I love about Facebook is you can set up, custom friends lists. So I have a custom friends list of all the realtors, and I have a custom friends list of all the lenders, and I have a custom friends list of potential clients. You can also go in, let's say somebody closes a home with you this year, you can make a custom friends list for everyone who closed a home with you in 2022. Then we know in 2027, I can click on that list. And what happens is when you click on a custom friends list, the feed that you see going through Facebook, it only works on your desktop. The feed that you see going through is only the people in that space that you've added to that list. If you've taken my social media class, you know the one thing I want you to walk away with is to ask questions. If there's ever a moment where I'm waiting for you to return my call and I'm like, I sent her the text, I called her 2 days ago, she hasn't responded, I'll go to your social media and I'll ask you a question. And you'll see my questions are lame. I'm like, was it hot that day? And you'll go in and you'll respond. And then like 30 seconds later, you'll text me back and you go, oh, so sorry. Right. because that's you're more vulnerable, you're more relaxed, you're scrolling on social media. And how it works is, lady has a baby, right? And it's the biggest post. She posts a picture of the newborn baby. It's the most liked photo of her entire social media experience. She's got, 120 likes and she has 80 comments. And what do the comments say? Congratulations, so cute. Congratulations, so cute. Cute baby. Congratulations, so cute. I go in there and I say, was it hot that day? Right? How was your labor? And then this mother who is like nap trapped with her only line of defense, or only line to the universe is this social media. And maybe she went through and took the time to like everybody's comment. And then she gets to mine and she's like, whew, 30 hours of labor. And I reply and I say, I've done 60 hours of labor. I'll meet you in messages, baby girl. And I go over and I message with her and she is like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? The poop is supposed to be yellow. You're okay. Right now we're talking, So now tomorrow morning when she opens up her social media app and she starts scrolling, I'm at the top of her feed because social media says on the most important day of her entire life, on her entire social media life, this lady scrolled past her best friend and her mother and her favorite realtor and all these other people. And she went to me and I'm the only person that she exchanged comments with. And I might be one of very few people that she actually messaged with the next day. So now we're utilizing the social media algorithm, right, to keep me top of mind. So I have a little thing on my phone that will like shut down all my social media apps if I spend more than 2 hours on them. Sometimes, it's like 9 o'clock in the morning and I'm like, oh, you've been laying in bed, girl. Time to go to the gym, or sometimes it'll go off at 9 o'clock at night. So I do a lot of stories, I'm just trying to stay top of mind with people. I want to keep social media as a really authentic place for me. And I tend to find that the more that I scroll, the more that I can find people who won't want to work with me. And I get in that rabbit hole. Like, oh, this guy's working with somebody else now. Oh, this person changed brokerages and didn't choose us. This person isn't going to join the lending company that I prefer, right? We like watch these things happen. So I try to be really proactive in my social media. I'm on there because I have a plan to do a live. I'm on there because I'm, putting stuff in my stories. And I try to keep it to less than 2 hours a day. And if I go to bed without that thing popping up, I feel like I've won.
Good, thank you. That seems doable. It seems like a rabbit hole. I'm like Van. Social media is not my favorite thing, but I think I want to take your social media class.
Yeah, absolutely. And click on the YouTube if you want it, or me and Holly will bring it in as a class. When you figure out who your customer avatar is, then you can figure out what social media you're on. Because if you hire a marketing director, they're going to tell you, make sure you're on LinkedIn and make sure you're on Twitter. And of course you're on Facebook because everybody's on Facebook, and you have to be on Instagram because they're coming. Everyone's growing up. It's all on Instagram now. Oh, and make sure you're on Snapchat. Like Chris, my avatar, if he downloaded Snapchat on his phone, his wife would be like, who you cheating on me with? Because when we were growing up, when Snapchat came out, it was for cheaters. Right now, these kids can have OnlyFans account, and I'm confident they're all strippers. Right? No offense to strippers, that's another conversation. But that sense of when you realize, I say, if you want to be on something, be on Facebook. Right? We know the audience is older, which happens to be easier to pre-approve. Right? But when you think about, hey, if you're working with first-time home buyers, you might need to be on TikTok, or you might need to be on, Snapchat, or just pick one.
Because Sarah, I already know that I don't really want to work with first-time home buyers.
There you go.
I already know that. I mean, I will. I certainly would, and I certainly would be very helpful. But they're not my target audience, and it's because we've sold 5 homes, and we've sold them to first-time home buyers, and I did not like their realtor. It's just. So
Yeah.
anyway.
I hear you. So we are at the top of the hour right now. I am not in any rush, so I can sit here and ask questions. I will also not be offended if anybody wants to sneak out or drop the screen. And I do want to give 1 minute if I can just interrupt and drag Tasha in with me so that we can just see her face. And you can tell folks how they can work with you if they want to. I'm going to do the same to Holly, and then we're going to go back to questions. Look at these two hot chicks. These girls are unstoppable. Get back in here. These girls are unstoppable people that when you put them together are a whole lot of trouble, a whole lot of fun, and pretty dang productive. So say again, end of the video, give your elevator pitch, who you are, where you are.
Oh, Tasha Brandon, Mortgage Marketplace. I've seen most of you, Catherine and Lindsay, and I don't know the other two. This is our office. I am a mortgage broker, and I've been doing this for a long time. Maybe too long, but we do create magic. I love what I do. I do need to figure out my avatars, because my avatars are actually my clients, or you.
Realtors. Yes.
Those are you are my
Yes.
clients.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
for
everything
sure.
else is, gravy.
For sure.
Yeah. The icing.
Half of the people in this room's customer avatar is Holly. We're trying to get more Hollies in the line.
But yeah, I love it. Thanks for all being here. Hope to see you again.
Thank you, Tasha, for hosting. Just to plant the seed with you all, we do a monthly mastermind the last Friday of every month. And the idea is that we bring in experts like Sarah Noelle here. The topic is different every single month. Ideally, people can come and join us here in person if you live here in Salem, Oregon, or in the vicinity. But if you don't, we do open it up via Zoom, which is great. Lindsay Moore, my virtual assistant, she is usually the one who will help guide the conversation if we don't have somebody like Sarah who's able to manage it on her own. Yeah, the idea here, even though I'm with EXP, the idea is that we collaborate and we bring everybody together from lending or from parent coaching, wherever you feel like you can benefit from the topic that we have, the more the merrier. And the idea is that, what's the quote that says, many sails, what is it, you guys?
Rising tides lift all boats.
What is it?
Rising tides lift all ships.
No.
Thank you. Thank you. I never get it, but that's the idea. It's all about collaboration and cooperation instead of competition. And for those of you who are not familiar with EXP Realty, that's really the premise behind EXP, is that we work together so that those rising tides, we all sail together and we all succeed together. And if anybody has any questions about EXP Realty, I'm here to help out and answer any questions that you may have. In the meantime, I hope to see you next month, the last Friday of the month. Our Cami Myers here, who's with us today as an audience participant, she's going to be working with us and giving us tips for the trade about how to stay positive and how to maintain a mindset that it's geared towards success, even when we're in the throes of perhaps negativity and cloudy weather and all things that may bring us down. She's all about rising those tides, baby, and making us be successful. So on that note, if we don't have any other questions, I hope to see you all next week, and there'll be more advertisements on Instagram and Facebook.
And can I say just one more thing? You are incredible. Because I was like, I did not look away at all.
I pay her to say stuff like that. I complimented her when we started. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Yeah, super glad to have all of you. We'll wrap up the recording now, but happy to hang out here and answer any questions. If you are curious about how I communicate like this, I do have a class on my YouTube channel. We brought out last week Jamie Miller, international communication coach. I've taken his class twice a year for the last 4 years. Bring him back as often as I can. And he really helped me understand how to reach people, how to speak to them, how to captivate them. So, and then how to get them to sign. If that interests you, pop over to that. We'll add a link at the end. But yeah, this is us now. Any other questions?
Thank you, Sarah. You're amazing.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay. There's no questions. I just want to talk about.
How do we find your YouTube channel, and do we subscribe?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And do
I
we
practice
pay? Do we
like
pay?
and subscribe. It's called The Real, REAL, The Real Estate Concierge, on Instagram and YouTube. So please feel free to follow me there. I do post all of my classes on there. If you want to collaborate or you want to attend a Lead Gen Summit, go ahead and add your phone number. Here's what I'm going to do. You guys get a test. I'm adding my personal phone number to the chat. Shoot me a text